Hello, this is Unlock 3, listening and speaking for B1. In this video, we are going to focus on critical thinking strategies. This video will help you get ready for the speaking task by following a process. You will understand this process, you will apply it, analyze it, evaluate it. This is your speaking task. You can see it on page 43. At the end of this unit, you are going to do the speaking task below. How has modern technology changed the way we interact with each other? Discuss the positive and negative aspects of this influence. So we will talk about it later. But now, let's talk about how to do it properly. To be able to do this task properly, you need to make a plan, just like you did in Unit 1 speaking task. It might be a good idea to go back to that video lesson to remember the steps. In the video description below, you will find a link to this video. Now, let's look at a sample process of getting ready for a speaking task using an ideas map. This exercise will help you understand the process of using an ideas map. On page 43 again, if you look at exercise 1, you will see this map. This is an ideas map. Look at this map. What's the main focus? So when you look at the map, you will see that the main focus is social networking activities. Social networking activities, what people do on social media. There are things like clicking on like. This is one of the social networking activities. Many people click on like button when they see a friend's photo, when they see an Instagram post. A lot of people do it even if they don't like the video or don't like the picture or the post. But they keep on clicking like because they think if they don't do it, their friends will get angry or will stop liking them. Another social networking activity is playing games. Many people, especially children and teenagers, love to play games online. And while playing games online, they meet new people or they spend time with their friends online. They even chat online. And this helps them to learn new words in English. This helps them improve their English even. So when you look at this ideas map, this ideas map will help you produce more ideas, and it will help you to discuss your opinion. Now, can you add extra examples to these ideas map? Social networking activities, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you make it maybe 10? Can you add more ideas? Pause this video now and come back later to check some ideas. All right, here are extra examples in 3, 2, 1. An example of sharing photos or videos is another example of networking activities. One more example can be teaching and learning. Another activity can be asking for or offering help. Another one is sharing news. Do you have one more? Now, the more important thing to do with this activity is explain your extra examples. For example, this one, sharing photos or videos. This is a very common social networking activity. Almost everybody like to share photos or videos on social media apps like Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, all of them actually. Every day people share millions and millions and millions of videos and photos online. Another example of explanation for teaching and learning. This is another example of social networking activities. Many people go to online schools, online courses to learn something. People can learn everything from a language to how to fix a car even. So this is a very important social networking activity. So do you understand how ideas map work? When you have a topic, speaking topic, put it in the middle and then add some ideas around it. That's step 2. And step 3 is explain your examples. Get ready to explain these examples. An important tip can be always make an ideas map to get ready for a speaking task. Always. Now let's apply this skill. Let's practice preparing an ideas map. Again, on page 43, if you look at exercise 4, prepare an ideas map on the topic of new and traditional ways of communicating. So what is the main topic here? The main topic is communicating, communication. But this topic has 2 subparts. One, new ways of communicating and traditional ways of communicating. So you must have 1 and 2 sub subtopics here. One of them will be traditional ways of communicating, and the other one will be modern ways of communicating, new ways of communicating. Pause this video now and think of some examples of traditional ways of communicating and make a list here. Also make another list about modern ways of communicating here. So let's see how many ideas you can come up with. Pause this video now, do the exercise, and come back to check some other ideas. Okay, here are some other ideas in 3, 2, 1. Traditional ways of communicating can be face-to-face communication, communication by writing letters, communication using telephones, home telephones or office telephones. Another traditional way of communication is faxes. Many of you don't even probably know what this means. And before faxes, people used to use telegrams. So these are some examples of traditional ways of communicating. What about modern ways of communicating? Some examples can be social media apps, mobile phones, of course, text messages, right? Email, communicating through video conference, and virtual classrooms. So this is a simple ideas map. Ideas map. Main topic and some examples, some ideas. But this is not enough, of course. We need to explain the map. For example, traditional ways of communicating include face-to-face communication. Traditionally, people communicated in person. They met in each other's homes, or they met in the center of the city or in the center of town or village, and they spent time, they exchanged news, and they told stories to each other face to face. So this is one example. A good idea is to pause the video now and spend some time focusing on these examples and try to explain them. So pause the video now and then come back to continue. Okay, let's continue now. Analyze means to study something carefully, right? When you are doing a speaking task, you must have some opinions. And when you are doing a speaking task, you should focus on advantages and disadvantages of something. Look at these opinions below, 6 opinions about traditions. Are they about advantages, A, or disadvantages, D? Pause the video now and write A or D at the end of these opinions and come back later to check. All right, here are the answers. Let's look at number 1. Traditions are not useful in a modern lifestyle. This is a disadvantage of traditions. Let's look at number 2. Traditions remind us of our history and culture. That's an advantage of traditions. What about number 3? Traditions give us a sense of belonging. It's an advantage. What about 4? Traditions help us understand who we are. So this is an advantage of traditions. And number 5, traditions can be expensive and time consuming. This is probably a disadvantage of traditions. And the last one, traditions are old fashioned. This is a disadvantage of traditions. Okay, now let's do a challenge. Choose one of the statements above. We have 6 statements. Choose one of them. Can you talk about it for 1 whole minute? Wow. To be able to talk about this 1 whole minute, we should choose one of them, think about its advantages or disadvantages, and explain it, right? So let me try number 1, for example. So I have 1 minute to talk about traditions are not useful in a modern lifestyle. Here I go. I completely disagree with this. I think traditions are very important even in a modern lifestyle. Take the tradition of showing respect, for example, being respectful. Um, People, I mean, tradition of respect to others. We learn respect from our parents. Parents teach us respect, and when we learn it, we show respect to older people in our families or among our relatives. When we learn how to show respect to other people from our families, we can apply this in different places of life, different aspects of life. For example, we can show respect in traffic, and we can show respect in supermarkets to people in lines. So if we do these in modern life, if we keep on respecting others in modern life, it makes life in general nicer, much nicer. Okay, I was able to speak a little more than 1 minute. Maybe my talk was not very successful because I didn't have time to plan my speech and I didn't have time to think about my examples. So it is really important when you are giving a speech, you should spend enough time to plan it carefully, to think about your examples, and to think about how you will support your idea. Okay, pause this video now. Look at some of these ideas. Choose one, okay? Take a timer and test yourself. Can you talk about it for 1 whole minute? All right. So let's talk about how to evaluate the information. If you remember this ideas map that we prepared before, Your job is this: explain the advantages and disadvantages of modern and traditional ways of communicating. So we made a list before. And give examples from your experience. So there are two steps. Step one is you will have to explain the advantages and disadvantages of modern and traditional ways of communicating. And in step two, you will talk about your own experience. For example, when you are focusing on traditional ways of communicating, if you want to talk about face to face, so what are the advantages of face to face communication? And what are the disadvantages of face to face communication? All right. One advantage can be face to face communication is more humane. When you talk to someone face to face, you can see their faces, you can see their hands, and you know how the body language is important. Are they laughing? Are they smiling? Do they look sad or happy? So you can see everything. So this is the one of the most important advantages of face-to-face communication. But one disadvantage of face-to-face communication is you cannot access this kind of communication all the time. People go to their homes, people travel to other places or cities, and you have to be away from them maybe for a period of time, and you cannot see them. So this is one of the disadvantages of face-to-face communication. Give examples from your experience. In the past, I spent more time with my friends in person. We used to come together, we used to tell each other stories, sitting in a cafe or outside in a park. And we played football or basketball to spend time together. But now we don't do it a lot. We use social media apps to communicate. So this is an example of how to explain advantages and disadvantages, and also giving examples from your own experience. After this video, you should sit down and think about how to explain the advantages and disadvantages of traditional ways of communicating and modern ways of communicating. Also, think about examples from your own experience. When you talk about social media apps, you can talk about, for example, what apps do you use? How often do you use them? Do you like them? Don't like some of these apps? So your own experience. As a summary, in this video we focused on critical thinking. Critical thinking is important in getting ready for your speaking task. You should plan your speaking task. How do you do it? You prepare an ideas map, and you should think about how to explain the examples in the map. You should focus on the advantages and disadvantages of the examples, and you should focus on examples from your own experience. Now go to the next video to study adverbs for emphasis.